Hey everyone, so this is my video in response to discussion question number 2, which is about self-assessments. So the self-assessment that I decided to do was the values and preferences one, which says what's most important to you. If you did that one or you peeked at it, if you read in the description part, it says, what aspects of work do you believe are most important and the job characteristics that you find most rewarding. And in our book, as well as an article that I read, it states how knowing yourself and knowing what's important to you, knowing what your values are, can really help lead and guide you into discovering which which job occupation fits well with you. I know from personal experience, I want to do something that I find rewarding, that I find meaningful, and in order to define what's rewarding and meaningful to me, it's going back to what I feel like is most important in life. And so I want to read this from the book because it stuck out to me. It says, self-knowledge has been held as an absolute requirement for exploration and choice of occupations, majors, and jobs. These self-attributes most often proposed by theorists are interest, abilities, skills, values, and personality characteristics. And knowledge of these characteristics can be helpful to both the client and the counselor in synthesizing a self-image that can be matched to an environment or implemented in an occupation. So by using this self-assessment, I was able to gain a better understanding of what I truly believe is important when it comes to a job. And then also, even how my job choice will affect in what I see as important to just simply my environment and lifestyle that I'll plan and hope to have by having a successful career of my choice. So just going over the 5 key values that I chose from the list, I chose that what's most important to me out of what they gave us was 1, helping others. Of course, that is my goal, that is my desire, that is what I feel like is most rewarding to me, and I feel like I've accomplished so much if I can just help someone. I can help people all day, every day. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to make my job out of. And of course, I kind of do that now as being a teacher. Also, something else that is important to me is that the opportunity for growth and a chance to advance. As I mentioned in my introduction video, I am a type of person that I don't like feeling stuck. I cannot be in the same spot doing the same thing for the rest of my life. I refuse to do it. And I am always looking for chances to advance and grow. I mean, you can't go wrong with wanting to be a well-rounded person. There's no limit to what you can learn and do in life, in my opinion. Some people are very satisfied with doing the same thing, but for me, it is so important that I do something that I can grow and elevate and not stay stuck. It just gives me anxiety to feel like I can't move in an area in my life. So that's very important to me. It's a job that allows me to elevate. I know they say money isn't everything, but for me, money is a factor. So when it comes to choosing a job, the amount of money that I make is a huge factor to me right now. It is important because I am by myself. I want to provide for myself, and I don't want to live a life that, paycheck to paycheck. I don't ever, I don't want that financial strain and stress on me if I don't have to. So yes, money is a priority to me when it comes to looking for a job, not in a selfish way, but because I know how stressful and that life can get when you're stressing about money, and that's one thing I just don't want to stress about. So yes, when I look for a job, I'm trying to see how much you're trying to pay me, because you gotta live. Another thing that is valuable to me is having time for personal life. The reason why I said this because like I mentioned before, I'm a teacher, and I always go back to my first year of teaching. I ate, slept, breathed, everything teaching. I was getting there at 6 o'clock in the morning, wasn't leaving until 6 o'clock at night. I was taking stuff home with me. I was working on the weekend. I lost myself in my job because, one, I want to say I'm kind of a perfectionist in a way. I just have really good work ethic, and I like to put my all into you know, what I do. So I was just doing so much for teaching that I burnt myself out because I lost who I was. I had no time for personal time. I always felt like I was telling my friends and family I couldn't hang out because I was doing lesson plans, blah, 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 blah. To the point to where I had a mental breakdown, and I had to have teaching mentors come and tell me that it is okay to go home without your backpack. It is okay to leave the stuff at school. It's okay not to do your lesson plans at home. Like, they had to tell me and reassure me that it was okay because I wasn't having personal time. And so ever since my first year of teaching, personal time in my job is valuable. It is something that I want to be able to do. I do not want to work in a job where I feel like I have to work after hours. Like, I want to say, you know, at 4 o'clock, I'm done. And once 4 o'clock comes, I'm no longer Miss Dillard. I am Jasmine, and I'm living my life, because there has to be a balance. And if you don't balance, like, if I'm not good on my personal side, then I'm not going to be effective in my professional side. So yes, when it comes to having a job, I do look to make sure that I do have time for personal time, because I know for my own well-being, like, that is important to me. And then my last value that was very important to me, but I feel like I could still compromise it in a way, is that working as part of a team. I am not a type of person who likes to work by myself all the time. You can probably tell from my personality, like, I'm social most times, and I love working with people because I've learned, you know, teamwork does make the dream work. So yeah, so I love working with people that are, you know, I don't want to say easy to work with, but we get along and we can work together and we can elevate that way. But I said I will compromise that, because that's also in the prompt, because I don't always have to work with people. There are times where I'm like, you know what, let me do this by myself, because I can probably get this done quicker and more efficient if you just leave me alone and let me do me for a second. But I think that is important, because I just feel like you learn more from people, and that goes back to helping people, because I feel like my part in a group, I like to lead and I like to help other people. So, you know, give one, take one. I help you, you help me. We can elevate that way. As far as least importance goes, I said prestige. I personally, I mean, yeah, working at some fancy place is cool, and I would like to associate myself with that, but it's not something I have to do. Like, if I have to, you know, if my calling and fulfillment is working, you know, counseling people, I don't know, the Salvation Army or something, like, that's fine with me. Like, I don't have to work at a prestigious job. I don't have to have this grand role. Another thing that's least important, power. I really don't care to have power. I'm not the type that has to be the CEO and in charge. I don't mind following if I have to, but I do like to take leadership roles, don't get me wrong. But, you know, if it's like, oh, if this isn't top-notch head honcho job, I'm not applying. Like, power doesn't mean anything to me. Recognition is great, but it's not something that I look for. When I'm looking for a job, I don't look to see, like, oh, how many awards can I get, or, you know, how many times is my name going to be in the newspaper, stuff like that. Like, that doesn't bother me. I don't care. So I don't really look for ways that I'm going to get recognized. But if they do recognize me, I'll take it. But, you know, having authority or responsibility, again, I'm not the type of person who has to be in charge all the time. There's some aspects where I don't mind following people because I don't feel, you know, qualified for a specific area or whatever. So again, authority is not something that I have to have. And then also having my own office. I do like my own space, but if I have to work with other people, I mean, look, I share a classroom with 25 little kids. Like, having my own space, what is that? I don't know. And so again, those things are just least important. And the reason why I want to go over this with you is just because it kind of gives the purpose of, you know, this assessment is to just evaluate, you know, your personal preferences of jobs. You know, who are you, what's important to you, and how can you align that with your career choice. And I know I am getting close to the limit of this. So what aspect of career development is this assessment meant to assess? I feel like it is meant to assess. Let me see. I have it on here. Oh goodness, I wrote it down. 263. I can't find it in the book, but it is in the book. Pretty much is to assess, like, get your client an idea of who they are and what's important to them is like a starting point, I feel like, as far as career development goes. Because in order to know what kind of career you feel like you're going to be best at, you've got to know yourself. You got to know your strengths. You got to know your weaknesses. You got to know your interests. Because I feel like there's some people who are in jobs maybe because they're good at it, but they don't enjoy it. And so I feel like this assessment is good to see what will you thoroughly enjoy and what career will match up with the expectations that you have for yourself and your future life and things like that. What were some of the strengths and limitations of this assessment? Well, I feel like strength-wise, it helps the client to see what gives meaning to them in life and then align that with, you know, career options. You know, what's important to you? What do you value most? You know, what are you willing to compromise? What are you willing not to compromise? So I feel like that this assessment allows your client to assess that and to see what's really important and choose a career, be able to choose a career off that. And also was able to evaluate, like it says on page 263, you know, how strong are your values in specific areas and how important, which I feel like I just said that. As far as limitations go, I feel like I said, this is a starting point, but at the end of the day, if I'm a client coming in asking you, you know, specific careers that are going to help me, like this assessment's not going to tell you specific careers that you fall into the category of or that's going to be best for you. It just kind of gives you a starting point to think of, you know, who you are, where you're at, and what would you possibly be interested in. So I guess if a client's coming and looking for a pinpoint answer, this assessment's not going to give it to you. And then another strength is that this assessment's free. It's not one of the pricey ones that you have to pay for. I know that's not huge, but for some people who need to use this assessment but can't afford it, this assessment's free. And how could such an assessment help your future population? Whether I am working at a high school with high school students or I'm working in a career center with adults, I feel like this assessment can help just start us off, can help the client see who they are, what's important to them, and give me just kind of, and not only me, but the client, just a start or a navigation to just starting to get in the mindset. You know, you may say you want to be a doctor, but look at, you know, what you value. You say you want personal time. If you're a doctor, you're always going to be on call. Like, start thinking about these things. And I think it just helps you to dig deeper into why you want a specific career. And does that career that you think you want really align with your expectations in life and your expectations of, you know, your values and your morals. So yeah, so I feel like I answered those questions to the best of my ability. Yeah, so any questions or comments, respond to my video and I will try to get back with you. Bye.